Hello, I'm Tony Bullen and welcome to episode 6 of A Load of Clark and Ball. At this rate, I think come the end of the year, we'll be giving Coronation Street a run for their money. This edition, we are looking ahead to the Arc Northern Puppy Derby semi-finals taking place over the 480-metre trip at Newcastle on Wednesday evening, live on Sky Sports Racing, Sky Channel 415. I'm delighted to be joined by John McCallum once again. We went through the first round. John, how do you think the competition's unravelled to date?
Yeah, it was very enjoyable, Tony, the first round. I think last week most of the headlines were the Irish invasion of Cheltenham taking all the winners, but the Scots done okay at Newcastle, you know. There was 6 heats last week and Scottish-based trainers managed to win 3 of the heats. And 2 of the guys that won the heats aren't attached to any tracks. So they've been having to get their trials where they can. Great performances and great performances by a couple of dogs coming up for down south as well. So a very enjoyable night, I thought.
Well, as I say, this edition does focus on those 3 semi-finals, but there's some couple of competitions running alongside that particular event. And myself and John, we've got a keen interest in Gazilli Glow. She lines up in track 1 in the heat of a bitches comp, John. We was impressed with her win last time out. How do you expect her to run on Wednesday?
Yeah, that was our first win for us, actually. We got her across in September of last year after a good run at Mullingar. She done a 28.82 at Mullingar, which is probably in the top 10 of fastest times of the year at Mullingar last year. She came over and graded an A3 and unfortunately was carrying a wee bit of an injury. So I had to take her down to Paul Evans in Oldham, get her looked at, and she had just a slight hairline fracture in her back leg. So that meant 8 to 10 weeks off. We laid her off and then she came into season. But wasn't too bad because it's a bad weather anyway up here. So we just brought her back there and that was her first race she won. And she did it very well in an A2. She came for the clouds to win impressively going away.
Well, I know not many people convinced me to part with a bag of sand, a grand for those that don't know what that means. But she definitely, I know you think that she'll stay and hopefully now she's got her head in front, she can qualify for the final. But again, we're going to look ahead to the 3 semi-finals of the Arc Northern Puppy Derby. And the first semi-final, John, features a dog that you was very impressed with from the very first time that he hit the ground, and that's Trap 6 Rockmount Dizzy.
Yeah, I think it's one of these wee dogs that's kind of underrated. You know, he seems to go off a reasonable price every time he runs. And I've bet him 3 or 4 times. And he's got impressive early pace. He really has got impressive early pace. He's 1 defeat when I bet him, came in the sprint Nottingham. And a dog, Droopy's Dishy, beat him. But I think I said last week he was badly drawn that night and he got pushed in. And Droopy's Dishy's came out again last Saturday and won a sprint at Monmore. I think she won the sprint 6th length, beating Dapper Donny like. So the form's there to be franked. And in this semi, I think he's got a good makeup, Rockmount Dizzy, in this semi. He got slightly crowded last week, I felt, when he came at the boxes, but his early pace is just phenomenal.
And the first semi is 7:26. I'll just give a rundown of the complete field. Track 1, Long Vehicle. Track 2, Toast of Sydney. Track 3 is Bramble on the Up. Track 4, Any Name Will Do. Track 5, T-Boy Bruno, and track 6 is Rockmount Dizzy. Obviously, T-Boy Bruno showed a nice bit of early, John, but do you feel with a level start that Rockmount Dizzy will comfortably clear that particular rival?
I think the level start, Rockmount Dizzy will definitely lead. Bramble on the Up ran good last week. It stayed on really well against Buckle's Melody, and it's been beaten off Rockmount Dizzy. It was towing it in again a couple of weeks back, but on a level break, I see Rockmount Dizzy going round the bend in front.
Yeah, Toast of Sydney's a dog that I liked him. I like the attitude that he showed when making a winning debut at Monmore, but he hasn't really trapped in the same fashion. But I think there's a break in the dog, and if he does, he could be dangerous. That 28.63 trial that he did in a prep trial suggests that the dog's got ability, but it's that trapping that he needs to iron out, John.
Yeah, I think he's far better drawn tonight than he was in the tomorrow night. Than he was in the heat. He was out of 3 in the heat, 2, and he can clear the 1 dog if he starts tomorrow. I think a big thing with Toast of Sydney is he needs to get onto that rail. If he gets on the rail, I think you see a different dog. if he was to clear one and get onto the rail, he'd definitely be a big contender. But him going across onto the rail leaves the room for Bramble and Up to get a solo down the middle, Tony. He's better drawn tonight because he was tomorrow night because he was drawn on the rail, which he didn't want. So I think both connections, the 2 and 3, will be happy enough that they're drawn that way around.
Yeah, he made a bright start to Bramble on the up dog, 3 from 5 last year, A2 to A1. I'll just give a rundown of some of the anti-post prices in this particular heat. Long Vehicle is best price 100 to 1. Toast of Sydney is 16 to 1. Bramble on the up 25 to 1. Any Name Will Do 125 to 1. T-Boy Bruno is 66 to 1. And Rock Mount Dizzy is 16 to 1. So it could be a competitive heat betting wise, but we will move on to the second semi-final. This features none other than Monmore Puppy Derby heroine Jaguar Macy in trap 1. Trap 2 is Knight of Merlin. Trap 3, Abigail's Buddy. Trap 4, Lightfoot Gigi. Trap 5 is Brightside Nick. And trap 6 is Danny D. Now, she threw down a serious marker in the first round, didn't she, John, Jaguar Macy, for Graham Rankin?
Yeah, I says last week, she's one of these bitches. She's got it all. She starts and she stays. I mean, that's a 450 sectional last week. And her time to the third bend was actually slightly slower than the Bocco's dog. But the Bocco's dog came out a length behind her, so better relative third bend. But her pace in for the third bend to the winning line, she's 2 lengths quicker than the Bocco's dog. So if she leads, nothing back runs her. What
I did notice, John, is the weight that Graham's had her. He has her within a kilo. Like 1 minute she's 26.8, 26.6, and coming into this competition, 27.6. So it does tend to fluctuate her weight.
Yeah, maybe a wee bit after the Monmore, just letting her down a bit after the Monmore Puppy Derby. Just letting her down a bit, relaxing her a bit, and then bringing her back. But one thing's for sure, whatever he's doing it right. Because the bitch is absolutely flying. And as I say, she does it both ways. She's got the potential of being a really, really smart bitch, Tony. And she's great. Well drawn on the rail.
Derby, John, just sorry to interrupt, that Monmore Puppy Derby, he normally throws up a good star of the future. And Danny D wasn't disgraced behind Jaguar Macy. He did beat Jaguar Macy on route.
Yeah, in the semi. Yeah, but he's been fiddling around the bends at Newcastle for me, Tony. He sure could pace up last week, but he fiddled the bends a wee bit. They can take a wee bit of running in Newcastle bends, especially the first bend. A lot of dogs tend to run off. He sort of tended to stay out. But he's got a dog inside him, Brightside Nick, who's been shown great early pace. He was second fastest in all the trial times to the third bend, Brightside Nick, but he didn't get off the front last week. The Paul Young's dog, the Conan's last dog, led him, and he didn't get to the front till the third bend last week. He could be a danger if he was to do the start right and get in front out the boxes, because his pace would take him clear. Then Macy would have a chase in her hands. Yeah. But the way she come home, you've got to fancy Jaguar Macy.
Yeah, my comments for Danny D. After the traps open, I thought, wow, he's going to do something really special tonight. And I just wrote down straight away on my card, all at sea. He was all at sea at bends, and his pace on the straights sort of, I mean, he nearly won the race. He flew up the home straight, but
he did. But what you got to remember as well, Tony, they're only pups. People tend to forget that and think that they're machines like young football players are going to produce it week in, week out. It takes a while to get the hang of it. They're only pups. He'll come on again, Danny D. I know, it wouldn't surprise me tomorrow if he went and done a flash run tomorrow and ran the bends a lot better.
And what do you make of the Lightfoot Gigi, John? What do you think's her best draw? She seems like any trap draw comes alike at the moment.
I think she's better in the middle. I think she was drawn 1 in the heats. And if you watch the heat again, she definitely comes away from the rail. I think 3 would be ideal for her, but I'm sure Jimmy Fennick, he won't be concerned at 4, because I think she'll go pretty straight for 4. And she's improved heaps last run, like. She's, really improved heaps. That was a 28.54 last run, and that's better than anything that she's done before. So she's got to be a contender as well. The 2-dog Nighty Merlin, he's not been shown as much early as what the trials read before they came to Newcastle. But as I say, pups can balk out and improve again. So I see the heat as 1 takes a beating, but I think 5 can qualify. I think 5 can go round second. I can see 5 getting off the front tomorrow and 1 maybe picking it up late on, coming home.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take something special to upstage Jaguar Macy. Brightside Nick is knocking on the door without a doubt. But I'll just give you a rundown of the outright prices of the runners in this particular semi-final. Jaguar Macy is 7-4. Knight of Merlin 40-1. Abigail's Buddy 100-1. Lightfoot Gigi 16-1. Brightside Nick, who I put up at the beginning of the competition, 28-1. And Danny D, who's looking to get dragged round, shall we say, 12-1. So moving on to semi-final 3, we've got track 1, Lav Yinyak. Track 2, Bubbly Rascal. Track 3, Gary's Diamond. Track 4, Bocco's Melody. Track 5 is vacant, was Lightfoot Dodd. And track 6, Cold as Ice. Now, one thing I do know from last week, John, you don't need any new batteries for your stopwatch. You said Bocco's Melody had been putting up some fast fractions for the third bend, and even off a moderate break, he certainly showed some good early gears.
Yeah, still was the fastest, was faster than basically the third bend even last week. So sectional was slightly slower than what he did in the trial. So I think he's capable of dipping under 450. I think there's a 28:30 run in the dog. It definitely is. Starts tying up, coming home a bit, but only young. One thing about Patrick Janssens is he appears to me once he gets them running, they really hold their form well. You know, you look at the dog that won the Golden Sprint there, Bocco's Jonjo. I mean, just he's got it running now, keeping its form, holding its form really well. Desperado Dan's the same. Once he gets them running, they seem to just maintain that. And I only see this Bocco's Melody getting stronger, and I think it'll win the heat.
How do you see that? Obviously, 5 is vacant now. I don't think Cold as Ice should be carrying a wide tag, but will that vacant box help Cold as Ice, John?
Without a shadow of a doubt, it will, because an all-known form, 4 will box and be gone. So suddenly 6 comes out. The nearest dog it's got's the white jacket, 3 inside it, so it's going to get room to move across. If you look last week in the race, Cold as Ice was moving across for the winning line right to the first bend, whereas a wide runner would stay wide and cut the bend. He wasn't. He was looking inside, and that probably cost him dear last week. So with the 5 dog being vacant, it's definitely going to play Cold as Ice's hands.
Yeah, I think if you give Cold as Ice a solo trial, he'd be as quick as any in the event. But
he'll do 20. He'll do 28:40 Cold as Ice in a solo trial.
Can you give us a heads up on Lav Yinyak, John? Obviously connected with the Gary Carmichael camp. He must be delighted with this bitch.
Oh, absolutely. She's coming forward big time. She ran really well last week, coming off the pace. You know, posting a 28.88. She's got a 28.83 in a trial. I think she'll dip under 28.80 tomorrow. Whether or not it's good enough to beat Bocco's Melody, I don't see it, but she can certainly take the second qualifying place without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, the Bubbly Rascal dog, the only problem is he's a big 35.5 kilo lump. He does look to make a beeline for the inside, so she probably, would you prefer her missing it a beat or coming out a bit?
Nah, she's got decent enough early, Tony. I would be looking for her coming out, because the Bubbly Rascal dog's a hit and a miss himself. If you look at his runs at Romford, he's a hit and a miss. So if she was to come out, she could get down in front of it, definitely. And if she goes round second, she's in with a real chance of qualifying. Well, obviously, be looking where the stripes turns.
Let's give a rundown of the anti-post prices for the runners in this particular semi-final. Lav Yinyak is 50-1. Bubbly Rascal 25-1. Gary's Diamond is 66-1. Bocco's Melody 4-1. And Cold as Ice 12-1. Bocco's Melody obviously was runner-up in that Puppy Derby event at Toaster. The winner of that, surprising, has obviously suffered a little bit of a setback, John. But having looked at the 3 semi-finals in depth, what would be your best bet to win one of the semis? And would you add any to the anti-post portfolio?
No, I would hold on the anti-post portfolio. We're on Bocco's Melody at 13-2. That would be a hold on that. But looking through the heats, you might think it's a bit foolish, but I think Brightside Nick will be third in that second heat there. I think, obviously, Jaguar Macy, she's 74 to win it. She's going to be short odds on to win the heat. And Danny D's going to be in second best. But with Brightside Nick's early pace, I think if they were to throw 92-5 to win it yet, I would have a player on that because it could steal it off the front if there's any trouble in behind, Tony. I would be looking at that in the second heat at a price. Obviously, Rockmount Dizzy, underrated dog. What are they going to price up tomorrow? It's going to be a tight heat, 2-3-6. They're going to be the likely favourites with 5 no far behind them. But if you were to get 5-2, 11-4 Rockmount Dizzy, got to be a play, Tony.
Yeah, it's a fantastic competition. As I say, with pups, nothing's ever set in stone. They could easily miss the break, but early pace was certainly the main ingredient in the first round, with 4 of the 6 heat winners making all. And it could be a similar scenario in these 3 semi-finals. I must thank John. He's taken his time to give his wonderful insight, top knowledge, uses the stopwatch. What John don't know about the game isn't worth knowing, but that is episode 6 of A Load of Clark and Bull. You can tune in to the next edition of A Load of Clark and Bull. We'll be covering the sprinters at Toaster, Northamptonshire Sprint. So once again, thanks for your insight, John. Join myself and partner in crime, Dave Clark, for Toaster's sprint competition.